Public life is increasingly defined by a specific modern mantra. It is a phrase that signals an immediate demand for special treatment, often used as a weapon during a public outburst. Don't you know who I am? When actor Alec Baldwin was cited for riding his bicycle the wrong way down a New York street, he challenged police with that exact question. 2 years earlier, singer Rihanna reportedly shouted the same phrase while security carried her out of a nightclub after she shattered a table. This entitlement reaches far beyond celebrity culture. From passengers berating flight attendants to angry customers shouting at baristas and drivers reacting with road rage. These scenes represent a shift in public life. In a society that has begun to prize brashness over kindness, we often mistake this aggression for strength, validating a destructive pattern of toxic narcissism. This line graph shows a psychological process called habituation. When a person is continuously exposed to poor treatment, their internal baseline for what is acceptable slowly drops. Like adjusting to a cold room, you get used to the discomfort until unacceptable behavior feels normal. A public tantrum is an annoyance, but the real danger of habituation happens in our private spaces, in our beds, our families, and our offices. The slow erosion of our boundaries destroys our mental health over months and years. Toxic relationships are often sustained by two human instincts. The first is hope, the belief that one more second chance will finally lead to an apology. The second is fear, the worry that we are wrong, that we deserve the mistreatment, or that we will end up alone. Surviving this era of entitlement requires breaking that cycle of habituation. Recognizing the mechanics of this behavior is the first step toward reclaiming your sanity. To spot a narcissist, you have to look past the confident exterior. While narcissism often mimics extreme self-confidence, it actually functions as a defense against pathological insecurity and a fragile ego. Because their internal emotional world is empty, toxic individuals completely lack the psychological structure needed to support their own self-worth. They must constantly seek validation from the outside world, wealth, status, or absolute compliance to feel secure. The moment that external validation is questioned, their fragile ego cracks. Their immediate reaction is lashing out with rage or entitlement to regain control of their environment. We see this pattern at high levels of power. When decades of sexual abuse allegations finally caught up to Hollywood mogul Harvey Weinstein, reports indicated he was less concerned with the victims he had harmed than he was with finding out who had turned him in. When financier Bernie Madoff confessed his $50 billion Ponzi scheme, his focus remained on securing a few days to manage his own affairs. He showed no concern for the charities and investors whose lives he had just destroyed. This insecurity paradox fundamentally changes the power dynamic. When a toxic person rages at you, you are not witnessing strength. You are watching a desperate defense mechanism designed to protect a terrified ego. These 5 clusters map the internal logic of a toxic interaction. Understanding these interpersonal, behavioral, and cognitive traits allows us to categorize the tactics of narcissism. The most prominent interpersonal trait is a lack of empathy. While they might intellectually register that you are sad, they remain indifferent to the actual experience and have no drive to comfort you. Then there is gaslighting, the tactic of manipulating reality to make you doubt your own memory. They will tell you, "That never happened," or "You're being too sensitive," rewriting the rules until you no longer trust your own mind. They also utilize projection. Because their ego cannot tolerate shame, they dump their flaws onto you. A partner who is lying will berate you for being deceitful. A colleague who is being lazy will accuse you of failing to pull your weight. These specific interpersonal tactics are used for one purpose: to keep you confused and defensive, ensuring you remain reliant on the narcissist's version of reality. This chart also highlights the behavioral cluster, which focuses on the outward actions toxic people use to project success to the world. The first is superficiality. Narcissists prioritize maintaining a perfect appearance and a curated lifestyle. They value the visible markers of a successful life over any genuine human depth or connection. That superficiality breeds chronic jealousy. Because they are never satisfied, they cannot celebrate a friend's success. Instead, they immediately find a way to diminish the achievement to protect their own perceived status. Identifying these behaviors can be difficult, so use a simpler measure. Instead of trying to diagnose the other person, evaluate your own internal state. Ask yourself how they consistently make you feel: invalidated, exhausted, self-doubting, crazy. If an interaction routinely leaves you feeling completely drained and unheard, you have successfully identified a toxic pattern. Their excuses no longer matter as much as the toll they take on you. The reality of the situation is difficult to hear. You cannot fix, cure, or save a narcissist. We often assume therapy is the answer, but the traits of narcissism, intense entitlement, and a lack of empathy, actively prevent the self-reflection required for growth. They are unlikely to seek change because they do not believe they are the problem. Waiting for a magical apology or a sudden breakthrough is a trap. It guarantees nothing but your own continued suffering. You must pivot your strategy away from trying to alter their behavior and focus entirely on protecting yourself. You have to build boundaries. Your first defense is to stop the supply. Toxic people require constant validation to support their fragile egos. Stop twisting yourself into knots trying to soothe or impress them. Second, recognize the gaslighting. When you are being lied to or projected upon, trust your own memory. Do not engage in long arguments over facts they are intentionally distorting. Smile and simply disengage. Finally, close the gate. You may not be in a position to leave a job or a family today, but you can establish emotional distance. Stop handing over your internal well-being to people who treat you as a convenience. Identifying these patterns allows you to step out of the toxic river of modern narcissism. You can enforce your boundaries, reclaim your reality, and transition from merely surviving to actively thriving.